fire at the house of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro on Sunday may face ethnic intimidation charges. Police confirmed that Molotov cocktails were used by 38-year-old Cody Balmer to cause the fire. Chardo proclaims the search warrant can be in part to Balmer targeting the Jewish faith of the Shapiros. A bail for Balmer was denied by a judge on Monday. Pennsylvania State Police confirmed Monday that Pedro Morales is being charged after driving a vehicle in a crash that killed 2 women on I-376 West on Sunday. The charges for Morales, who before driving consumed 2 beers, include involuntary manslaughter. According to the Allegheny County Medical Examiner, the victims were 77-year-old Sharon Orlovsky of Monroeville and 52-year-old Shannon Morrow of Mount Lebanon. Officials from the Erie County Health Department made an announcement Monday of 2 new confirmed measles cases, which makes 5 in that county. An outbreak is occurring because the CDC defined that a link epidemiologically connects the 3 most recent cases. A person tested positive for measles on March 30th and exposed someone else directly to it. According to a CDC report, 712 confirmed measles cases are across 25 states as of April 10th. A Pittsburgh man died on Tuesday after crashing his vehicle into a lake close to Orlando, Florida. According to a release from Florida Highway Patrol troopers, the crash happened near the Inn at Celebration Autograph Collection at Lake Ryanhard. A WKMG report confirms the unidentified man was announced dead there after his body was recovered. The man went off the road and struck a fence and curb before going underwater. The crash is still being investigated. This newscast is being brought to you by Rome Monument. We will check your Beaver County radio weather forecast after this.
Hi, folks. I'm with our good friend John Diagardi from Rome Monument. John, you were telling me earlier that people really should not rush into choosing a memorial for their loved one. Now, why is that?
We found that families need to take ample time to grieve first. Grief is not something that we get over, but rather something that we learn to live with. So the length of time to grieve varies from person to person.
You mentioned that the monument can't be placed right away.
That's right. There are certain things that need to take place before a monument can be installed. So it's really worth taking time to think about how to plan and design a memorial that truly reflects a person's life. It's actually a healing activity that helps to alleviate grief.
John, this makes a lot of sense.
It does, and when the time is right to proceed, not only can Rome Monument help families choose and design their memorial, we can help them save as much as 50% by eliminating the middleman.
Thank you, John. Folks, you can learn more simply by visiting RomeMonuments.com.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Mostly cloudy today, then gradually becoming sunny. It's going to be breezy as well with wind gusts over 25 miles per hour. We'll see a high near 49. Clear tonight, we'll drop down to a low around 30. Sunshine tomorrow with a chance of showers through the overnight. We'll reach a high near 61 and a low around 45. And partly sunny on Friday with scattered showers mainly through mid-afternoon. We'll see a high near 76 and a low around 61. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Wednesday, April 16th of 2025 at 5 minutes after 8, we've got a temperature of 38 degrees currently in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM, AM 1230 WBVP, 95.7 FM, and 1460 AM WMBA. Also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
And now, Patriot Home Care is proud to present the Beaver County Radio Morning Show with Frank Sparks and Scott Tatey. Frank and Scott will get you caught up on what's going on in the world with news, sports, and entertainment, along with playing some of your favorite tunes, including Pittsburgh area bands. And now, here are the hosts of the show, Frank Sparks and Scott Tatey.
It is just after 8 o'clock on your Wednesday morning, and joining us at a special time this morning is going to be Dale Reckless from MRS Physical Therapy, as we will be talking to Dale about putting some spring back in spring. But before we get to Dale, let's get our Hank's pick of the day out of the way real quick. Hank's frozen custard and Mexican food. Here's Gabby with your flavor of the day. Your next one.
Now it's time for the
I left this because it's
Hank's
funny.
flavor of the day.
Favor or flavor?
Flavor of the day.
Start reading it again.
Now it's time for the Hank's flavor of the day. Today's flavor is peanut butter. Head on over to one of my favorite places, Hank's Frozen Custard and Mexican Food in New Brighton today.
All right, there you go. Peanut butter, Scott, one of my favorites.
Oh, you gotta love peanut butter ice cream.
All right. What about you, Dale? What's your favorite?
You know what? Everybody loves the peanut butter. I mean, Wednesday's peanut butter day, right?
Absolutely. Peanut butter. I like to take like a scoop of peanut butter and a scoop of chocolate, like a Reese's cup ice cream, and just mix it that way. That's
now
always
you got coming up. You know what's coming up next week? I think it's next Thursday.
What's that?
Bring your child to work day.
Oh, Lord, help me. Do you think they'll allow that?
You're gonna have to do something special. Get some special ice cream there, and get some Gabby on air.
Oh, she loves being on air. She's coming in this Friday to do our Easter basket pick with Mike Romai.
Nice.
So them two together are two peas in a pod. So, but all right. So this month, Dale's he's at the studio. He's still at the clinic, and he's going to be on the phone this month. But Dale, again, we thank you for moving a little bit this week so that Jimmy Fela can be here at 9. And I didn't know you were a fan, or I'd have told you, come on, Dale, come in. So, but we really appreciate that and appreciate you. So this month we're going to talk about putting some spring back in spring.
That's right. Yeah. Sorry I couldn't be in clinic, but we have a short week with Easter week, and we close on Good Friday, so it kind of pushes patients to earlier in the week. So that kind of prohibited me from actually coming in live on studio because I really like doing that. But this week, listeners will have to just deal with listening to me versus watching me perform on air. Although it is being broadcast live on Facebook still, so a lot of the listeners that are outside the range can still listen in. So that's a good thing. But yeah, we're talking about keeping your spring in this year's spring. So what does that mean? That means, spring's here, and what are the things that we do in spring to realize, maybe we realize things happened over the wintertime that we weren't aware of, but now that we're getting into our regular activities, we're like, oh, something's a little bit different this year than last year. What's different this year than last year in my body, and why can't I do the same things as I did, or maybe there's new aches or pains or increased difficulty doing something. So we're going to talk about some of the identifiers and what you can do about that.
All right. So there's a lot, and people getting out doing yard work and things. So what are some of the things that you recommend for people that are starting to get out to maybe prohibit those aches and pains to start with?
Yeah, so I just listed a couple activities as I was preparing for the show, thinking about things that people do the springtime that they maybe had not been doing through the winter, so they couldn't identify the changes that had been going on in their body. And like you said, one thing is getting out, doing some digging and weeding in your garden. That's a big one. That's one of my personal favorites. That's one thing I enjoy doing myself. Getting your bike out, riding your bike, just doing some spring cleaning around the house. And things like that. And each of these individual activities can identify some different things. You might notice some different things doing these activities that you didn't notice last year. You might not have noticed because you weren't as active through the wintertime. We all have aging bodies. As we age, our body changes in many different ways. But these are some of the activities that you might have started already. You might have enjoyed some of the warm days we had and already started to get into your garden. But you might have started to notice some aches and pains in your neck or your back or your hips or things like that. So we're going to talk about some of those individual things that come with each of those activities. And also remember, if you're getting back into a regular exercise program and you took the winter off because you didn't want to deal with walking outside or slipping or falling, which I understand, you may not be able just to kick back where you left off. So if you were doing a really good program through last summer and fall and you're getting back into it, you just can't go back to the same weight you were lifting or the same walking pace or distance that you were walking before. You need to reintroduce your body back into that activity again.
All right. So give us, it's springtime. Scott, you and your wife like to get out and do a lot of walking, things like that. So how about some suggestions on maybe, I don't know, stretching out or something before you get going?
Yeah, so spring activities like, let's start with gardening.
Okay.
So people don't think about all these things necessarily when they garden, but one thing that you might notice is different is your balance, which people are like, gardening, how does that affect my balance? Well, getting up and down from if you're going down onto the actual ground, getting up and down from the ground can be a big deal, especially if you don't have something to hold on to. And if you notice your balance is different with that, then it might be indicative of needing to work on a balance program with us at MRS Physical Therapy. Or you might notice your flexibility is not as good and it's hard for you to reach into the garden beds, or your strength is not good. It's hard for you to keep your weight bare through your legs or your arms as you're kind of moving around in the garden to weed and things like that. One of the big ones is getting up off the ground, though, and that can become really hard as we age. Getting up off the floor would be the same thing in your house. So if you're doing spring cleaning around the house and you're cleaning your floors or scrubbing your floors, you might notice it's more difficult to get off the floor. It'll be even more difficult and challenging when you're outside because there's not likely something for you to hold on to pull yourself up, which we start to rely on our arms more when we're getting up off the ground or off the floor as we age, because our leg muscles have become weak or less flexible.
Are there certain stretching exercises you recommend, or how long of like a warm-up kind of process do you suggest?
Yeah, so something to remember is when you're outside doing any activity, I would say about every 30 minutes you want to do about a standing break. So if you're like me, you get into your garden and you're there for hours at a time because you kind of have in mind what you want to do to prepare your garden, whether you're preparing it to plant or you're actually doing the planting. Easily you'll be out there for hours. So about every 30 minutes, you just kind of want to do a standing break. So you kind of just stand up, put your hands behind your back, and extend backward. Hold that for about 5 seconds. Repeat that about 5 times. That kind of helps to reset your back a little bit. And your low back is one of those areas that tends to get tight because you have developed the weak core muscles over the wintertime, or you have weak core muscles. Just kind of doing a reset. Stand up about every 30 minutes. Put your hands behind your back, extend backward, hold that for about 5 seconds, repeat that 5 times. That kind of just helps to reset those back muscles. That's not a bad idea to do for anybody during their day, honestly. If you have a sitting job, for example, if you're sitting for all day at your desk at your computer, about every 30 minutes you should do a standing break. Just stand up, extend your back, and give yourself a break there. Other common tightened muscles are neck, your hamstrings, behind your thighs, and your hip flexors. And those muscles get tight just from kind of sitting for a lot. So if you're sitting for most of your day, or you spend a lot of time sitting in your recliner over the wintertime, your hamstring muscles can get tight, your hip flexors can get tight, and your neck muscles get tight as well. So these are some of the main muscle groups that when you come down to MRS Physical Therapy, we assess. So if you have noticed some pain or anything that you started to develop through your spring cleaning or gardening, come down to see us at MRS Physical Therapy. We'll do a full evaluation on you, and we'll give you an exercise program, a good pre-gardening, pre-exercise, pre-cleaning exercise program that you can do in preparation for spring.
All right, we're visiting this morning with Del Reckless from MRS Physical Therapy. He's making his weekly appearance here on Beaver County Radio. And if you have any questions for Del, you are welcome to call at 724-843-1888. Also, you can ask any questions on the stream on Facebook Live as well as our YouTube channel as well. Del, how much when you're when you're going out and you want to start an exercise regimen or working in the yard, how much does your shoe wear play a part of it?
I'm glad you brought that up, Frank, because that's on my list of things to talk about.
Okay.
So footwear is really important. Obviously, you want to wear something that's non-slip and a supportive shoe. By all means, don't be wearing your slippers or your Crocs or things that aren't going to be have a good tread underneath, because it's really easy to slip, especially this time of year when you're going into your garden. Sometimes there's muddy spots and it's really easy to slip and lose traction. So what you wear on your feet is super important. You want to wear a supportive shoe, sneaker, or boot even, something that gives you good support. So good traction, so when you're getting up and down, you have good traction. And another thing that people notice is when they're getting back into like a walking program, they might notice some foot pain underneath their foot. And there's something called plantar fasciitis that becomes very common this time of year when people are starting back up into an activity program, whether that's walking or running, and that's an irritation of the fascia, the muscle that's under your foot. And usually it's identified by like your first step out of bed is really painful. And it might work out and feel better through the course of the day, but then the next day that first step out of bed is really painful underneath your foot. And that is typically identified as plantar fasciitis. And I'm talking about that now because there is a direct correlation with that and footwear. So what you wear on your feet is important to prevent the likelihood of plantar fasciitis. And there are things that you can do with your footwear to prevent that. One thing is to get a good pair of sneakers or shoes, something that's supportive, has a back. I always do my shoe talk for people when they come in. I look at their shoes and I tell them what to identify with what is a good shoe and a bad shoe. And it's hard anymore. People used to say, well, what brand should I get? But all brands really nowadays make good supportive shoes, and they make shoes that are more geared towards fashion versus support. And so they're not as good for giving you foot support. No matter what the brand, there's good ones and bad ones. So I always teach my patients what are good things to identify a good supportive shoe, which is the heel. The back of the heel should have some firmness to it. Shouldn't be floppy. You shouldn't be able to pull the toe of the shoe back to the tongue of the shoe easily. And you shouldn't be able to twist the shoe like wringing out a towel. You shouldn't be able to twist it too much. It should have some good form to it. But then even more importantly, what you put inside your shoe to support your arch helps to prevent plantar fasciitis as well. And there are very inexpensive arch supports. The ones we personally use and sell are called Power Step orthotics. Doctors send their patients to us all the time to get these Power Step orthotics. They're very inexpensive. They're only $48. Where if you were to get a custom-made orthotic, you're talking $300 or $400, and insurance doesn't cover that. So they're usually good for about, I'd say, 95 to 98% of the population can get away with a good orthotic that we sell versus having to get a custom-made one.
What do you recommend for somebody that maybe has flat feet or something like that, and they have plantar fasciitis? What can you do there?
Yeah, so again, a good orthotic will have an arch support in it. That's how you identify a good orthotic.
Okay.
So that arch support helps to support that arch that's become flat, like you may have always had flat feet, excuse me, or that might have developed as you age, because your foot does change as you age as well. So getting a good arch support that's got some good firmness in that arch, that's the kind of orthotic that we use, recommend, and sell, versus getting one in a store that, the arch really isn't there. Once you put weight on it, that arch just disappears. It's just a piece of fabric and form, so it doesn't have any support at all to it. So the ones that we use are the Power Step orthotics. Like I said, we sell them in both my clinics. They're only $48. They're off the shelf. And they're the ones I personally wear. I've been wearing the same brand for 10 years, and they do great for me. And I will also say, if you have an orthotic or a shoe that's more than 6 months to a year, it's probably time to get a new orthotic and pair of shoes, because shoes and orthotics are only meant to last. If you wear that same shoe all the time, they're meant to last only between 6 months to a year. So if you have that favorite shoe that you've been wearing for years, you should probably ditch that and get a new pair of shoes.
As Dale knows, in my house, I call it the Dale Reckless rule, and that's how I go get new shoes every 6 months without my wife saying anything to me. But I assure you, when you go into Dale's clinic, he's not lying to you. When he tells you, you go sit there. I had plantar fasciitis, and I went to Dale, and he cured me of it. I don't have it any longer. He does tell you to take your shoe off, so I should make sure you have clean socks on, your shoes don't stink.
And, if that alone doesn't fix you, like Frank said,
right.
We treat plantar fasciitis in our clinic as well. And important components of their treatment are reducing the pain through warming up the tissue with heat and electrical stimulation, which is very comfortable. doing our hands-on manual techniques where we put our hands and we work the tissue with our hands that are on the bottom of the foot, and then the exercises that we give you to do in the clinic, as well as all of our patients get a home exercise program on the first day when they come in. They get exercises they're going to start out with doing at home to complement what we're going to work on with them in physical therapy.
And again, as I can assure you, Scott, it works because I had plantar fasciitis really bad. And one of the cool things that I thought was neat was part of my program was the fact that you get a frozen bottle of water and roll it on the arch of your foot.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a nice little trick too. And actually, it feels really good. You put you roll your arch over top of that frozen bottle of water, and that kind of cools down the tissue at the end of a session or at the end of a long day being on your feet, and that really helps too.
I'm going to try that tonight. A couple of days ago, I think it was Monday, we had the first nice warm day in a long time, 70 degrees, and everyone and his dog was out walking in Beaver. And I know some of them, like you mentioned, probably hadn't walked for months. They're getting that spring fever again. Well, what advice do you have for someone who hasn't walked in a while, or just walking in general? Are there certain rules to follow or certain things to keep in mind to make the most of it and to be as healthy as you can?
Yeah, so walking is a great activity. I will say that walking, research has shown that just walking alone is not enough to prevent loss of strength. We're going to talk a little bit more in the show about something called sarcopenia. So sarcopenia is age-related loss of muscle mass and strength. So sarcopenia happens, number one, as we age. It happens naturally as we age. But if we don't do specific things, then it doesn't prevent the progression of sarcopenia. So just walking, there was a research study back in 2021 that said just walking alone does not achieve the benefits of preventing this loss of strength as we age. So I know a lot of us focus on getting the 10,000 steps a day, which is great. That's a great start. It's a great maintenance. But it does not alone slow down the progression of getting weak. So in order to slow down the progression of getting weak, you have to do things like resistance training or higher intensity walking, where you actually get your heart rate, up and things like that. So research has shown that the high intensity training and resistance training are the things that slow down the progression of getting weak. So, for example, if you spent the winter not doing much and in the fall you were getting 10,000 steps no problem in a certain period of time, you might have timed yourself for how long it takes you. And you notice that this year you've slowed down, it's taking you longer to get the steps, or you might not be getting the steps at all. And that's something to keep in mind, too, like I talked about at the beginning of the show. If you were getting 10,000 steps last year in the fall, no problem, you might not be able to just jump right back into getting those 10,000 steps again. It might take you some time to work your way back up into that. And you want to take your time with that. But as far as activity for walking alone, you want to start out with a little walk, then do a little light stretching, about 5 to 10 minutes in your walk. And this could be something as simple as stretching out your heel cords. That stretch where you lean up against a wall or a fence post with one foot back to help stretch out your heel cord. That also stretches out your plantar fascia a little bit. That's a real good exercise for that. You can do a sitting hamstring stretch where you're sitting, you kick one foot out in front of you, and you reach your hand towards that one foot. That will stretch out your hamstring. That's a good exercise. Find a park bench at about 5 to 10 minutes into your walk and sit down and kind of stretch out your hamstrings and heel cords. That will go a long way as far as keeping you flexible for your walk and preventing pain from developing.
So what do you recommend for somebody like myself that sits behind a desk most of the day, and then you got to go home and get the busy life going? What do you recommend for them so that they don't develop this loss and maybe plantar fasciitis moving forward?
Yeah, there's a program that we developed for just for that, actually, for people that work at a desk for most of their day, just to kind of maintain, prevent yourself from getting tightness. We call them mini stretch breaks. And we developed this program years ago for office workers, so they don't develop tightness in their neck muscles, especially if you're looking down at a computer for a long period of time or looking down at your phone for a long period of time. And they're called mini stretch breaks, which doesn't take a long time out of your day. It takes about anywhere from 2 to 3 minute breaks that you do. Just like you're going to get up and get a cup of coffee or go to the bathroom every hour. That's when you can do your mini stretch break. There's really quick exercises you can do for your neck muscles, for your hip and leg muscles, just to kind of keep stretched out. But you're right, Frank. For those people that sit for most of their day, and they're going home, and once you get home and you're in the door, then there's all sorts of other things you got going on, right? Taking those mini stretch breaks during the day when you take your coffee break, water break, bathroom break are real good solutions to help prevent getting tightness and feeling the pain and strain of your work day.
We're visiting this morning with Del Reckless from MR's Physical Therapy, making his monthly appearance an hour earlier than normal. But we are talking about putting some spring into spring and ways that you can keep from injuring yourself or tightening up, and things that can help you to get out there and get active for the spring again. You can call at 724-843-1888 if you have any questions. Also, we're monitoring the Facebook Live feed. If you have any questions, you can ask them on there as well.
Dale, you mentioned resistance training. I'm interested in that. What are some of the programs you suggest?
Yeah, so with preventing the progression of sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle mass as we age, Scott, you're probably in about the same age group as Frank and I. I'm guessing.
Correct.
Close enough, if not on target. But muscle mass, we lose about 8% per decade, starting at 30 years old up to 70 years old. And then the loss after that increases to about 15% per decade after that. So after the age of 30, we start to lose about 8% muscle mass per decade, and then that progresses to 15% after 70 years old. And that develops something called sarcopenia, like I said earlier, which is the loss of muscle mass and strength. So that can really affect us, that loss of strength over time. So research shows that, like I said, just a walking program is not enough, but you have to do some level of resistance training and higher intensity workouts. So resistance training has shown to reduce the development of sarcopenia. And different things, the things we look at to measure sarcopenia, I mean, you can do an MRI or a scan like that, but we obviously don't have that in our clinic. But there's some simple things we do in our clinic to help our patients identify if they're developing sarcopenia or loss of significant strength or power. And that is, one is grip strength testing, which I've done that before in the show. I bring in our grip strength tester, and I show you how to test your grip strength. But that's something real simple that we do in our clinic. Another thing is looking at your gait speed, how fast you walk, and we do something called a sit-to-stand test, which is how many times you can sit to stand in 30 seconds. So those are three good identifiers to identify, first of all, if you're developing sarcopenia. So grip strength, for men, you should have about 66 pounds of grip strength or above, and for women, you should have 44 pounds of grip strength or above. So when you come in to test with us, we will test your grip strength, and we'll tell you where you are on that. Because if you're below that, that's an identifier that you're losing strength, and it's probably not just in your hands. Your grip strength is actually an identifier of your whole body power and ability. So just testing your grip strength alone does not only tell you what your hand strength is about, but it also tells you what the rest of your body likelihood strength is. And then, do you have a question?
No.
Okay, and then the 10-meter walk test is a test of gait speed. So 10 meters is 33 feet. If you want to test yourself at home, you should be able to walk 33 feet in less than 12.5 seconds. That's a normal range. So if it's taking you 15 or 20 seconds to walk 10 meters or 33 feet, that's an indicator of you're slowing down through the aging process. And then this is a real simple test to do at home as well. It's called a 30-second sit-to-stand test. And all you do is you get a good supportive chair, and you can't use your arms, so you put your hands across your shoulders, and you stand up and sit down, come to a full stand, and sit back down again as many times as you can in 30 seconds. So if you're going to try that at home, you put your arms across your shoulders, you stand up and sit down as many times as you can in 30 seconds. And for men, you should be able to do that 17 times or more. For women, you should be able to do that 15 times or more. So if you're doing that test, you should be able to stand up and sit back down. If you're a guy, at least 17 times in 30 seconds. If you're a woman, at least 15 times in 30 seconds. If you can't do that in that time frame, or this happens a lot, you can't get up out of that chair at all without using your hands, that's an indicator you're starting to lose power in your legs and your hips, which is a real good indicator of increasing your risk of falling. If you can't get up out of a chair without using your arms alone, that's an indicator of being a fall risk. So these are really significant tests to do. They're not hard tests to do, but they do tell us a lot about the body and what's going on as we lose strength as we age.
Scott was sitting here doing the exercises you were describing it.
I got winded after 4.
Yeah, you did 4 and got winded. But we were visiting with Del Reckless this morning from MRS Physical Therapy. We're going to take a short break, and then Noah's going to have news headlines, and we'll be back with more right after this here on Beaver County Radio.
Patriot Home Care is now hiring caregivers. Are you a caring and compassionate individual looking for a reliable income with benefits? Then call Patriot Home Care today. Benefits include health insurance, life insurance, paid vacation after 1 year, and 1.5 times hourly pay for overtime plus holiday hours. Patriot Home Care employees provide personal care, conversation and companionship, medication reminders, light housekeeping and laundry, meal preparation, and errands. Start your career in home care today and call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or apply online at patriothomecare.org.
Attention seniors! Did you know that by being a part of Silver Sneakers, you can receive a Beaver County YMCA membership for no additional cost? More than 16 million Medicare members have access to the Silver Sneakers program. Just give our member service representatives a call, and we'll take care of the rest. For more information, give us a call at 724-891-8439. Again, that's 724-891-8439.
In a recent live broadcast, Del Reckless from MRS Physical Therapy stated that if you are over 65 years old, the CDC recommends getting an annual fall risk screening.
Your vestibular system is similar where it starts to slow down at the age of 40 to 50 years old. Your balance systems start to change at the age of 40 to 50 years old, and they keep getting worse. So it's not just something you do once, but you should do it annually because your body continues to change year to year as you get older.
If you need physical therapy for any reason, choose the place that your friends and neighbors do. MRS Physical Therapy, located in Stone Point Landing in Bridgewater, or Cranberry Physical Therapy on Route 19 in Cranberry. For more information, call Dale Reckless today at 724-728-7550 or visit mrsphysicaltherapy.com. We have Art Cornell here from Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum. Art, what makes the Beaver Cemetery different than many cemeteries?
Well, we're a non-profit cemetery, so all income generated is used to meet operational costs, to make improvements, and to provide perpetual care for centuries to come. Beaver Cemetery is non-sectarian and open to all who choose to take advantage of our historic beauty and tradition of caring.
Thanks, Art. Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum, serving all of Beaver County since 1865. Located on Buffalo Street in Beaver.
The Beaver County Radio Easter Bunny is hopping his way to our studios with a very special Easter prize package for one lucky winner. Listen now for your chance to get registered. When you hear the Beaver County Radio Bunny hopping down the bunny trail, call 724-843-1888. And the first 5 callers will be registered to win. Winner announced at noon on Good Friday.
The Beaver County Radio Easter Basket Prize Giveaway includes all kinds of goodies and gifts from local businesses, including $100 in PA Lottery scratch-off tickets and a $100 gift card to East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Save. Total value of the basket is over $500. The Beaver County Radio Easter Basket Prize Giveaway is being brought to you by Hank's Frozen Custard and Mexican Food, Blackbird Market and Crafted Wine Store in Beaver, The Golden Goose, Zuki Sports Tavern, Montini Dentistry, Fun for All in Cranberry, Leslie's Beauty Saloon, the Lisa and Tank Latham team at eXp Realty, the East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Saves, and Beaver County Radio. You heard Gabby. Make sure you tune in every day and listen for the Beaver County Bunny hopping down the bunny trail for your chance to win.
You're listening to Beaver County Radio, brought to you live from the Fry Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fry Transportation, a winning team, 99.3 FM and WBVP, providing news, sports, and information for 76 years.
Excitement is surrounding the Pittsburgh Pirates after Paul Skeens' rookie season last year.
Paul Skeens is for real. 102 on his final pitch of the day. 8 strikeouts for Skeens.
Adding Kutch.
The pitch. High fly ball to center field. It's hit pretty well toward the wall. Go! Oh my God! Oh my God! Andrew McCutchen has won it. They're going crazy. The Pirates have won this game, and an incredible game. You can raise the Jolly Roger and call it maybe the best all time in Pittsburgh. What a game!
And you won't want to be anywhere else besides listening to Pirates Baseball on 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP. The Young Bucks are poised and ready to make a run at greatness, and Beaver County Radio is your place to tune in and listen all season long. Pirates Baseball on Beaver County Radio is being presented locally by the St. Barnabas Health System, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Falcones Moon Township Ford, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, Patriot Home Care, and Beaver County Radio.
It's a voice you recognize, the voice of Beaver Valley. Coming to you from an all-star quartet. 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and 1460 WMBA.
It is now 8:36. I'm used to Dell being on at 9 o'clock, so I'm thinking it's 9:36, but it's 8:36 here in Beaver County. Here's Noah Haswell with headlines.
Thanks, Frank. Coming up at 9 o'clock on News Headlines, charges will be filed against a 17-year-old who was driving in a North Swickley Township crash which killed a Beaver County 16-year-old Connor Lutz. The Beaver County and Pennsylvania primary elections will get underway on May 20th. Ethnic intimidation charges may be given to the man who set fire to Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's house on Sunday. A man is getting charges after driving in a crash that killed 2 women on I-376 on Sunday. Erie County Health Department officials confirmed 2 more measles cases in that county. And Danielle Smith has a report on ways that Pennsylvanians can avoid seasonal allergies this spring. For the weather forecast today, it will be mostly cloudy skies, then gradually becoming sunny with a high near 47. Tonight will be clear skies with a low of around 31, and tomorrow it'll be sunny skies with a high near 61. On this Wednesday, April the 16th of 2025 at 38 minutes after 8, we've got a temperature of 39 degrees currently in Beaver County. That's a look at news headlines. More at 9 o'clock. I'm Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM, AM 1230 WBVP, 95.7 FM, and 1460 AM WMBA, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
All right, thanks, Noah. He'll be back at 9:05 with news, and also coming up at 9 o'clock, we will have the one and only Jimmy Fela. He's already in the house. He'll be here visiting with us in 9 o'clock hour, talking about tonight, and he is the honoree at St. Barnabas Founders Day. He's getting the Hanty Award tonight. I wonder, he's an Ohio State fan. I know, but I'm still going to let him in the studio anyways. Noah, do you think maybe he might drop the award tonight? I mean, we seen J.D. Vance slip with the trophy yesterday. Maybe Jimmy's going to slip with the award tonight. What do you think?
I don't know, but what I do know is his sound clips are hilarious. That's all I know about him right now. So,
all right. No, we'll be back 9:05, and in the meantime, we're on the phone line. Dell's usually in studio visiting with Del Reckless this morning from MRS Physical Therapy. And Del, we have somebody that has a question. Do you want to run out to the phone lines?
Yeah.
All right. Good morning. You're on the Beaver County Radio Morning Show.
Well, hi.
Morning.
I didn't know I was on the air with Dale. I want to know what your thoughts are about if you're not dizzy, and if you're not feeling numbness, and you don't think you have neuropathy, and you don't feel like you have gout or any of that kind of stuff, but when your balance is like out of whack, and your friends are telling you you're acting like you're drunk when you haven't had a drip or a drop.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start by talking about our vestibular rehab program, because it sounds like it's a vestibular issue, which is an inner ear issue. So when you have issues with your vestibular system, and we do vestibular therapy every single day. I mean, I treat patients with this all the time, but there's different things that can be happening with your vestibular system. So most people are aware of vertigo. Vertigo is when you roll in bed and you get that kind of really violent spinning, and you feel like you've had couple drinks or you're recovering from a couple drinks, that kind of sensation. That's vertigo. That's when you have these crystals in the inner ear that get stuck, and we fix that. But some patients come to us and they say that they're having balance issues, but it's not the vertigo. They just feel like when they're walking down the hall, or when their spouse is watching them walk down the hall, they kind of drift to one side, they're off a little bit. That's called vestibular hypofunction, and I treat a lot of patients with vestibular hypofunction, and that's when your vestibular system is just not strong. It's weak for some reason, and that causes you to kind of drift to one side or be off balance. So when I have patients come in for an evaluation and their balance is their issue, or I try to figure out, it's like putting the pieces of the puzzle together. I look at their feet, like you said, they may have neuropathy, they may not have neuropathy, they might have nothing wrong with their feet at all. So I do some testing with their eyes open versus their eyes closed, standing on a floor surface versus standing on a foam surface. That helps me to identify where their vestibular issues are coming from. And I do a series of battery of tests to help identify all these problems that could be coming from the vestibular system. But it sounds like for your question, it's something called vestibular hypofunction, when your vestibular system is just not strong enough. And we do exercises to help strengthen that vestibular system up again. So if you were to come in for an evaluation, we would be looking at what happens with your feet, your ability to balance on one foot, your ability to balance with your eyes open versus your eyes closed. We would watch you walk and see what happens when you walk, and we would check out all of your vestibular system issues and identify what the problem is, and then give you corrective exercises based on that. So it could be something called vestibular hypofunction based on what you identified right there. Does that answer your question?
Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Can I ask you one more question?
Yes.
Good.
I am a bicycle rider, and I probably logged in 75,000 to 80,000 miles over a long time, and I push a lot of pressure on my bones.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
I believe he was talking about he rides a bicycle a lot, and a lot of pressure on his bones. But
I put a lot of pressure on my bones, on my feet.
And I'm sorry, what's the question?
Does my foot pressure on that constant pressure, can that help to affect any kind of a balance?
It should not make your balance worse. No, if anything, it will help out your balance. So having pressure and contact, that should help improve what's called your proprioception. Your proprioception is your body's awareness of where it is in space. So that should not negatively impact your balance. No.
Okay. Thank you for that caller. Hey, Dale, I had a question. You were talking earlier about if you lose muscle strength.
I also ride a unicycle.
Whoops. Dale, are you there? Dale, are you there? All right. I'm sorry about that. We'll be right back after this word from our sponsors.
Make Easter more delicious than ever with chocolates from Rosalind Candy Castle in New Brighton. The entire Rosalind Candy Castle family invites you to stop in for the area's best selection of Easter basket fillers and novelties made from the highest quality pure milk chocolate. Try their homemade hand-decorated Easter eggs, such as the mouth-watering peanut butter melt-away eggs. All 15 varieties of Easter eggs are made fresh in Rosalind's Candy Kitchen. Don't forget, Rosalind Candy will have their delicious chocolate-covered strawberries the 3 days before Easter. Stop by Rosalind Candy Castle on the corner of 13th Street and 5th Avenue in New Brighton, or shop online and order your Easter favorites right from your desk at rosalindcandy.com. Rosalind Candy Castle, the sweetest place in Beaver County.
Beaver County Radio and the Pennsylvania Hot Rod Company have teamed up again for the 3rd annual Cruisin' the Ridge Car Cruises. This year's car cruises are presented by Belconi's Moon Township Ford, A.K. Nahas Appliance, Furniture, Mattress, and TV, and Dan Hoffman State Farm Insurance. Join us on Saturday, May the 17th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the first of 5 cruises this year. Cruises are being held at the Beaver County Radio Studios at 4301 Dutch Ridge Road in Brighton Township. Solid Gold Saturday host J.D. Merkel will spin tunes in the parking lot. There will be food trucks, a 50-50, and a Chinese auction. New this year will be a swap meet area, and each cruise will have a theme to it. May's theme is Corvettes. The cruises are rain or shine, and the first 100 receive a dash plaque. Collect all 5 for a chance at a special prize at the end of the year. Cruising on the Ridge is also being sponsored by Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Rochester Paving and Seal Coating, Hank's Frozen Custard and Mexican Food, the Fire Transportation Group Incorporated, the Pennsylvania Hot Rod Company, and Beaver County Radio.
Put freedom in your future. Freedom United Federal Credit Union in Rochester.
Scott Tate here, back with Dale Reckless. How'd you like me hanging up on you by accident? Sorry about that, my friend.
Hey, I wanted to answer your question that you asked about resistance training.
Yes, please.
Really fully get to that.
Please.
So basically what we're talking about is how do we prevent sarcopenia? How do we prevent the muscles getting weak over the aging process? And first I want to talk about activity-wise. So you want to be doing either high-intensity or moderate-intensity levels of activity. So, like I said earlier in the show, walking alone does not prevent it. So in 2021, a research study said that just walking does not achieve the benefits of slowing down the progression of getting weak over aging process. So you got to do something a little bit more than that. So you either need to be doing high-intensity or moderate-intensity levels of exercise. So what is considered a high-intensity exercise is things like hiking, jogging, playing basketball, playing soccer, and doing that for 20 to 30 minutes a day. Now, a lot of us aren't playing basketball or soccer anymore. So then we jump down to, well, what's a little bit more realistic for me? Maybe a moderate level of intensity. So moderate intensity are things like brisk walking, bicycling, mowing the lawn, playing tennis or pickleball, and doing that for 30 to 60 minutes per day, which is a lot more reasonable for a lot of us to do. But then the question comes down to, well, what's brisk walking mean? And really it comes down to getting our heart rate up, and that's the better indicator of us doing a moderate level of activity, is getting our heart rate up. And this requires a little bit of math. So you want to get to somewhere between 60 to 75% of your maximum heart rate. And so how you figure this out, if you're listening and you're trying to figure this out at home, is you take the number 220 and you subtract your age. So say you're 60 years old. 220 minus 60 is 160. And then you use a multiplier of somewhere between 60 and 75%. So we're going to multiply that, say, for example, by 60%, and that is 96. So your heart rate for that 30 to 60 minutes of activity should be about 96 at the low point, and then somewhere around 110, 115 for the high point. So you should be exercising for 30 to 60 minutes, getting your heart rate up to that amount. And a lot of us use smartwatches and things like that these days, so it's really easy to monitor your heart rate. Or you can buy like an inexpensive pulse oximeter, which is the thing that you put on your finger to measure your heart rate. So there's really simple ways to measure your heart rate these days. But that's what you want to exercise at a level of moderate intensity for about 30 to 60 minutes. But then the other question you had was resistance training. What does that mean? So in order to find the right amount of resistance training, you want to get to a high to moderate level of activity for your resistance training to improve your power and strength. And so for that, you need to figure out what exercise groups you're going to work on. So we're going to say we're going to work on our quads. So we're going to use a leg press as an example. So you want to find out what your one repetition max is for a leg press. So say, for example, you can push 100 pounds one repetition, but that's your one repetition max. That's all you can do for one repetition. And then you want, for your exercise rate, what good intensity rate to prevent the sarcopenia is you want to be able to do 50 to 80% of that one repetition max. So if you're able to do one repetition max of 100 pounds, we're going to just say at 50%, 50 pounds, you want to do leg press, and you want to do 2 to 3 sets of 5 to 8 reps 2 to 3 times a week. So that's your formula for figuring out how to maintain or improve your strength in your quads so you don't start to lose that mass over time. So it's about 50 to 80% of your one repetition max, doing 2 to 3 sets of 5 to 8 reps, and doing that 2 to 3 times a week. So that's something we help you figure out when you come down to our clinic. Remember, you have 2 clinics you can come down to, MRS Physical Therapy in Bridgewater, and that's right in Stone Point Landing. or Cranberry Physical Therapy in Cranberry Township. That's right on Route 19 next to North Park Lounge. And I'm just going to throw out the phone numbers for that. If you're listening at home and you want to give us a call, and we can, it's kind of challenging to figure all this out on your own. That's why we do it for you. But if you want to have us help you put together a program for you for reducing the weakness or reversing the weakness that you developed over the wintertime, give us a call. If you want to come down to the Bridgewater office, which is right in Stone Point Landing, that number is 724-728-7550. Or if you want to visit us at the Cranberry office, that's Cranberry Physical Therapy on Route 19 right next to North Park Lounge. That number is 724-591-8121. So, keep in mind, the bicycler call earlier, I want to talk about biking real briefly as well, because that's another thing that we get back into is riding our bike again. And that can really change as we age. So what you were doing last year or the year before, you might be completely different this year. And the reason why is your balance could change, your strength could change, your flexibility can change. Getting on and off the bike safely is a huge deal that people don't realize how hard it is as we age. If you've lost flexibility in your hips, or if you've lost some balance, you could actually fall just getting on and off the bike safely. That could be a big issue. Losing neck range of motion, losing the ability to turn your head left or right to see oncoming traffic as you're bicycling, that can be a big deal as we age. And then, of course, balance while riding the bike, that could be an issue as well. And typically we're pretty good just getting back on the bike and balancing for the straightaways. But if we're having to stop or turn or the quick reflexive responses that change as we age, that slows down, that can really affect your safety in riding a bike as well.
We're listening to Dale Reckless from MRS Physical Therapy with great advice for getting the spring back in your step for this spring. And I thought it was interesting you mentioned pickleball and people looking for sort of a mid-level exercise. That does seem to be one of the reasons that sport has become so popular.
It is, and if you talk to any pickleballers, doing 30 to 60 minutes per day is no problem. They're out there for hours at a time because it's one of those activities and sports. It's a lot of fun to do. Have you ever played it before, Scott?
I know it's just a matter of time until I do. I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah,
seems like it's less wear and tear on your knees and joints.
It's not as bad. It's not as hard to do as like some of these higher level activities, but it still counts as like a moderate intensity level of activity. And you only need to be doing that for 30 to 60 minutes per day to prevent the slowing down of the aging process a little bit for us, because it does get your heart rate up, you're moving, you're getting your joints moving back and forth. But I will say there's a high incidence of pickleball injuries as well that you got to be careful with. If you're not doing proper warm-ups and cool-downs, I see a lot of pickleball injuries, everything, knees, ankles, hips, low back, shoulders, everything you can imagine with pickleball, can become an issue. So we actually have a pickleball program that we run our patients, provide to our patients exercises they can do for proper warm-ups, so reducing the likelihood of injury with playing pickleball.
We're talking with Dale Reckless. The focus has been on spring. What other advice do you have for people? We're getting back out. We want to be outside. We want to be active again. Anything else you think is important to prepare for as far as that in spring?
Yeah, number one, don't hesitate. Get out and do it. I encourage people to get out and exercise. I don't want people, getting from this program like, oh, I'm going to get hurt if I go outside. This is not an excuse. This is advisement for things to do to prevent injury. So I encourage people to get out, work in your garden, get back on your bike, you do your spring cleaning, but I want to raise an awareness, I guess, more than anything, that your body could have likely changed from one year to the next, and give you things that you can do so you can safely still do those activities that you love. I love gardening, and I want to continue to garden as long as possible. At some point in my life, I might adapt to the raised beds. Raised beds are a great option for people that still like to garden but can't get up and down off the ground easily. There's always ways that you can adapt and still do the things you love. So get a raised bed and add that to your gardening routine. If that's where you are in your life, you can no longer safely get up and down from the ground easily, or it's a real burden to do so, or you've fallen doing it and things like that, because it can be really challenging when you fall to get back up off the ground again, like I said earlier in the show. So that could be an issue. But just be smart about the activity. Realize your body's changed, and there's things that we can do to help out with that at MRS Physical Therapy. If you're concerned about it, or if you want to come see us before you try these activities, by all means come down and make an appointment. It's we take all insurances, and for most of the time, you don't need a script to come see us. So you don't need to go to your doctor first and say, hey, I need help with gardening. You can just give us a call at MRS Physical Therapy. Like I said, for the MRS Physical Therapy in Bridgewater and Stone Point Landing, that number is 724-728-7550. Or if you want to come to the Cranberry office, that's Cranberry Physical Therapy, right on Route 19 next to North Park Lounge. That number is 724-591-8121.
All right, I guess you'll be back in your normal time slot next month at 9 o'clock on the third Wednesday of the month.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you working with me remotely today. Have a great day and a happy Easter.
Appreciate the advice.
Same to you. Don't eat too much ham. All right, buddy.
Good.
Take care.
All
Bye-bye.
right.
See you, Dale.
Yep.
All right, it is 8:56 in Beaver County. Time for a commercial, and then coming up top of the hour, we will have Jimmy Fela, host of Fox Across America, in the house, and we were getting into a little cool conversation back there. And you're in our age group, so you'll kind of be able to fit right into this. We were talking about certain beers and stuff.
Oh, I'm in.
And some of the different breweries and stuff, and then we ended up talking about Spuds McKenzie, and it came into Jimmy's head. Alex from Stroh's. Remember that dog?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
right.
I forgot about him.
So then he brought up a song, so we're going to play that song a little bit later. All right. Coming up next, Noah Haswell. He'll have news followed by Jimmy Fela here on Beaver County Radio.
Just in time for Lent. It's every